beginning to look a lot like last year. Every game I watch.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show here on a Friday night. The Blazers played the Clippers once again and lost once again, but they made it look a little bit better, falling 125 to 117 with a impressive garbage time run there in the fourth quarter, as well as some good individual performances that we're going to talk about. The Blazers being much shorthanded in this game without Jeremy Grant, who knows if he's going to play again the rest of the season. I don't know if there's been an update on him, but we can talk about injuries a little bit with his absence. Anthony Simons goes down. He only plays 22 minutes in this game and only had 3 points before that, so we'll see if there's an update on him. But also DeAndre Ayton missed this game. He had, of course, been playing recently and playing well, but after a tough performance last game, was shut down for this game, and the Blazers, very short-handed, were able to make it competitive, especially there in the fourth quarter, kind of getting this game back to a respectable score despite the loss. And man, this game had some interesting stuff, Eric. You had Ryan Rupert hitting a three-quarter court shot that barely didn't count, unfortunately. That was cool. You had Delano Banton having a good offensive game. Chris Murray sets a career high. He had a good game. Tamani Kamara still doing some things offensively that you like to see. Scoot Henderson, 24, 10, and 4 boards, which is a pretty solid performance. And I think there's some good things to talk about from this game offensively. Defensively, still a big struggle. Still a bunch of drop scheme that obviously got picked apart for the second night in a row against this Clippers team. But before we get into it, Eric, how's it going? How have you been enjoying the NCAA tournament? And what'd you think of this game, man?
Oh, well, screw Jack Golke or whatever his name is. Okay. Ruined my bracket, but
let me just say screw SEC teams in general because Auburn ruined my bracket, so.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's fun. It doesn't really matter, right? It's cool to see performances like that. Yeah, so good for what team was that?
Oakland.
Oakland, yeah, good for them. But anyways, Blazers, I I get why people enjoyed this game, and I'm not like trying to crap on it or anything, but I mean, we're kind of ignoring that they were down 20 plus most of the game and just made a furious rally there in the last couple of minutes. It was mostly kind of boring, and Blazers did not do a lot for most of this game. And then some people, made some buckets late, and a lot of the stat lines look pretty good, which I'm happy for that we can talk about some positive box score. But this game was pretty boring throughout most of it.
Yeah, I got to get a new AI image up there. I got something in mind. Let's see what it cooks up for me. But, yeah, I mean, this game wasn't really competitive. The final score makes it look a lot better, hence the title of the thumbnail and all that. Still, like to see them keep fighting, playing hard there in the fourth quarter, putting 37 on the board in the fourth. This was definitely a better offensive game than the last game, especially considering Anthony Simons basically contributed nothing offensively outside of 6 assists to this game, and DeAndre Ayton wasn't there. And you had some rookies, some young players step up, have some good offensive moments, which is good to see. And basically just all we're looking for out of the rest of this Forsaken season. Because, man, I mean, watching March Madness lately, Eric, it's I've been enjoying it a lot, and it's been a minute since I've enjoyed watching basketball. Like, still watching this team, and I enjoy when, if Ryan Rupert does something good or Scoot Henderson does something good. I'm watching it for the young guys. It's always cool to see them do well, but just to purely enjoy basketball, it's been a minute. And being able to watch March Madness, even though my bracket was screwed, just being able to watch what I think is a very pure form of basketball, that is college basketball, has been enjoyable, and it kind of reminded me of, oh yeah, man, it's been a minute since I've had this feeling watching this Portland Trailblazers team.
Well, it helps when your team wins in the first round when a lot of other teams got upset.
Well, yeah, right? Of course. But, it's... those guys just play hard. Like, it's March Madness, so it's do or die. So, of course, guys are going to play hard, and it's the regular season in the NBA. But it's just refreshing to see teams just fight and claw for every inch out there on the court compared to watching some NBA basketball, which is, it's funny because we gave Chauncey Billups a lot of credit for getting his teams to play hard earlier in the season. And then I go and watch a Division I game. I go and watch a March Madness game, and it's like, man, were the Blazers really playing that hard earlier in the season? Because that's what playing hard looks like, what you see in the NCAA tournament. So, at this point in the season, rough season, obviously, and we're just looking for some of these young players to show something offensively. So despite the fact that they were, down by much more than 8, and basically this is them just clawing it closer in garbage time, essentially, still had some good young players have good individual performances, and I mean, that's all I can hope for at this point.
Yeah, right. There's not much else to be positive about, and I mean, honestly, we don't want them to win, so I guess games like this is fine, right?
Yeah, the games like this is fine. I wouldn't change anything about this game, really. I just want to see them stop running freaking drop scheme, Eric.
That's what I would change is just maybe Chauncey getting into some of the guys for their defensive effort. It's not necessarily one particular person, but several of the players just seem to be really slow getting back on defense, really slow in their rotations, giving up on plays, and it's just indicative of a not very well coached or well accountable team. I don't know if that's what I'm saying, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot last post-game show. I mean, since we're playing the Clippers again, I don't want to make this just a repeat of last game's post-game show, although we definitely could with some of the defensive things. So, we can touch a little bit upon maybe some of the same issues, but my goal with this post-game stream is for it to be a little bit more of an abridged version of talking about the same stuff, because we literally just played this team. Literally just saw basically the same exact game that we saw last last game, this is also part of the reason why I don't like playing the same team twice in a row. It makes it a little difficult to do post-game shows on back-to-back nights, especially when the Blazers are tanking, and hopefully, I don't know what the situation is with Anthony Simons, but, hopefully he's okay.
He limped back to the locker room for those that didn't watch, yeah.
So I don't know, how long he's going to be out for. I don't know what the situation is going to be with that, but I don't know. We haven't, clearly started hardcore tanking, right? Or do you think we have? Because this time last year, we had clearly started hardcore tanking. And this year, it doesn't really feel the same. It's a little stranger.
I don't know, man. If you see some of the lineups we're trotting out there, it's hard to imagine that we're not. But I still think they're not purposely trying to lose. They're just putting the players out there that they know will not win a game like tonight. And you hear rumors that Sharp might be back soon, that he's ramping up activity. It's why? I want to see Sharp play, but why would you risk that this year? I don't know. Why would you risk him coming back too soon and making it a possibly lingering thing, or the surgery having to be done again or something? I know it's a very low possibility, but what would be the point in playing him this year? I mean, he's not going to get that much development playing, a handful of games at the end of the season or whatever, but I mean, it would be fun to see him out there. I'm worried about playing him at all.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get re-injured, but then again, our luck is Blazer fans. I mean, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But, there are people out there who just apparently just want to see him for a couple of games for whatever reason. And it's okay, what for the long term, what's the long-term benefit of seeing Shaedon Sharpe for a couple games at the end of the season?
I mean, if he's healthy, fine. If he's 100%, gets cleared and all that.
If there's no downside, yeah. But my whole thing is just there's no long-term benefit in that if he's only playing a couple games at the end of the season. So if there's any risk, or if it's sore at all, or if there's literally any problem with it whatsoever, just don't do it. I don't think they would have him return for the final couple games if there was an issue, but we've had question marks about how they've handled injuries in the past, and it's just weird. There's a reason why we question this organization and how they handle injuries, and I mean, we get players hurt all the time, and we get players that are close to coming back, and then they have a setback, and we have so many reevaluation dates, and there's a reason why this organization doesn't really get the benefit of the doubt in regards to handling player injuries, and it's not even necessarily to say specifically that they've done this or that wrong. There's a couple things we can point out to in the past, such as, if we go all the way back to year one of post-game shows with this channel, Rodney Hood having Achilles soreness and playing and tearing his Achilles, right? He probably shouldn't have been playing with a sore Achilles, because he then went and tore it. But other than maybe a couple instances, it feels like a lot of circumstance. But when you're dealt with the circumstances this team has dealt with, all you can do is be careful, especially when there really isn't anything to gain by rushing them back at all.
Right. And as Spencer and John point out in chat, there needs to be a heavy, heavy emphasis on a minutes restriction of 20 minutes. Because if Chauncey plays him 40-plus minutes like he did earlier in the season, if he plays a few games, that's I can't imagine risking him for that, to play him that much. So hopefully it's just in limited action if that happens.
Yep. Absolutely. So who knows? End of the day, we said this year, or at least I said, I think you felt the same way. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I felt like this year was a good evaluation year for Chauncey Billups, with it being his third year. We talked about some of the struggles with defensive execution on the last post-game show. I mean, has he just thrown in the towel on this season? Because when I watch him coach, especially lately, it feels like he's just whatever.
Mhm.
Like, we're just going to run drop. Occasionally we'll switch to his own. At one point, they did have Wreath playing a little closer to the point of the screen, so great. But given the seeming lack of accountability when guys aren't hustling back, like, some of that effort lately has been very, very questionable, and I haven't seen a change in temperament from Chauncey Billups. Okay? The scheme's extremely passive. I mean, you're going into a game against James Harden, who will use the space you give him in the mid-range to find his way to the rim or make a kick-out pass. He's still one of the best passers in the league. Kawhi loves mid-range shots. Paul George can get hot on mid-range shots, and you're running drop scheme against these guys. Like, okay, not great. And then the execution mistakes, as we said on last postgame show, have not gotten better all season long. So I sometimes when I watch Chauncey and just see what's going out there on the court and see what his reaction is to it, I wonder if he's kind of thrown in the towel on this season a little bit. Do you have that same feeling, Eric?
No, and this is why. I just think he's not a good coach. He thinks he's good, but he's not. So, like, I think he thinks if he had like a healthy team right now, that he'd be a good coach for it, you know? Like, I don't think he thinks that he's doing a bad job. I think he thinks it's just, I mean, what is he supposed to do with starting Chris Murray and you know, that kind of thing, you know? Drop Wreath, and, you know.
Absolutely. Like, sitting here as somebody that talks about the team, like, absolutely, he's out there, you know, he's running out lineups that are nowhere near as talented as the Clippers, okay? Like, but that can't be his mindset. His mindset can't...
I know it can't be, but I think it is. That's the problem.
I don't disagree with you at all. But it should not be. Right. As a coach, you're supposed to do the best job possible with what you're given, okay? And obviously, it makes it easier to do a good job if you're given a lot of talent. But at the end of the day, you gotta try and do the best with what you have. You can't sit here and say, oh, I don't have my guys, and, you know, we're just super shorthanded. What can we do? That can't be the attitude, okay? Like, you're shorthanded, you're playing a lot of young guys. It has to be, okay, we need to hold them accountable for getting back on defense, for some of these defensive mistakes. We need to develop them. We need to hold them to a certain standard, although they're not as talented as the players they're going against. There's a difference between executing defensively and being beat by a better player, a better offensive player, and just making silly defensive mistakes. You know, both will end up in points on the board for the opposing offense, but there's a big difference in, okay, we're doing the right things, we're not making as many mistakes, we are executing better, and teams are making shots. And my problem is a lot of coaches in the league seem to use the other team made shots to just absolve themselves of any responsibility of anything they or their team could have done better. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it might apply because it's the NBA in 2024 and guys are going to hit shots. But there's, you know, been a lot of games in the past that we've lamented listening to some post-game press conferences from head coaches where it's, okay, yeah, they made some shots, but you made a lot of defensive mistakes. It's not as simple as you playing good defense and them just making shots. So, I mean, I just hope that Chauncey has the right mindset. I mean, I can only sit here and guess and speculate. I don't know the guy. I don't talk to the guy, right? I can only sit here and speculate as to what his mindset is, but it can't be, oh, we you know, look at the lineups we have. We don't have my guys. And we've heard stuff in the past of, like, Chauncey not being happy with certain players on the team because they're not his guys. How much have we talked about in terms of Chauncey and his guys, right? And it goes back to what I always said, Eric, with good coaches, okay, will have a good system that they'll try and adapt their players to. Great coaches will adapt their system to their players. Right? And sometimes you might be given the
mix both a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes you might be given the perfect roster for the system you want to run. Right? Sometimes, you know, you might be given a perfect team for the temperament of the coach, what they want to run, etc. Okay? And each coaches are going to have their preferences, but the best coaches know how to A, formulate a culture, B, mold his system a little bit to his players and get them to execute it. Even if they have lesser players. We talked about Memphis last postgame show, where they rank defensively with all their injuries, but they're still playing above average defense somehow. We look at Miami and the players that they bring in. They haven't been too good in the regular season the past couple of years, but I mean, they made the finals last year. The regular season doesn't seem to matter too much to them. But they get guys out of nowhere, and they make them produce. Like, those guys produce for Miami. They get players off the undrafted pile all the time and turn them into guys that end up getting multiple contracts and end up getting paid. So my whole thing is, man, like, hopefully Chauncey is still trying his best. And if that is his mindset, Eric, I kind of got a problem with that. Like, at the end of the day, you got to do the best thing for what you're given, whether that's try and win games or develop them or whatever. And, it's just seeing some of these executional mistakes from players that should know better by now or should have improved more by now this season has me wondering what is up with Chauncey, because just some of the defense that we're seeing. I know the Clippers are a good team, but some of the defense that we've seen as of late is just a little too messy for me.
Yeah, but at the same time, if I'm Chauncey, I'm pointing to how well Chris Murray's been playing lately. Scoot has a good game tonight. Some of the younger players that have had to play, have had some decent moments. So I'm
on the
not
offensive side of the court.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm okay with any of these things. I'm just saying, from Chauncey's point of view, he's probably sitting there thinking, look what I'm making like Chris Murray into, and like that kind of stuff. And so he thinks he's developing these guys really well, because a lot of people only look at the box score after a game. I mean, there's not many people actually watching the games right now, right?
Yeah.
I think, the effort on defense, we're always going to pay attention to that. But I think a large portion of this fan base has not even watched or cared enough to examine how much their effort they're giving on defense and things like that, or schemes or anything. They just see, oh, well, Chris Murray's got his career high the last two games, Chauncey must be doing something right to develop these guys.
I mean, Chris Murray last two games has been good. A little premature to act like, Chauncey turned him into anything.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, the development thing is what he can lean on. And you could also say he started 4 rookies tonight. Like, how am I supposed to have a good defensive scheme with 4 rookies? Like, I'm sure that excuse is around there. I
mean, but that's the problem, is his excuses.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
If that's the reason, people will go to bat for him and say, oh, well, look who he has to play. He has a bunch of people with platforms. And shoot, I'll say it too on some nights if it's like, Scoot getting overpowered one-on-one against a player that's bigger, or, Reith just, right, like not being able to vertically challenge a player at the rim. Like, there's situations where you can easily point to it and be like, yeah, if you had DeAndre Ayton instead of Duop Reith there, that defensive play is a little bit different, right? But at the end of the day, in terms of simple stuff such as positioning, how you position yourself towards a screen, making sure both players are on the same page in defending a pick and roll in terms of what scheme you're running, not one guy icing it and one guy playing towards the middle of the court. Like, there's a bunch of little things like that you can't just gloss over with the personnel excuse. And that's the problem, is if you're sitting here looking at it like, man, you got 4 rookies, how can you expect me to have a good defense? It's not good. It's not good, because at the end of the day, this team, I thought a big goal this year, Eric, on top of development, was to not fully develop a culture by any means, because they were never going to do that in a year where they lost as many games as they're going to lose this year, but start to develop a little bit of a culture in terms of, okay, we're going to have, this is our identity defensively, and this is what we're going to do on that end of the floor, and if we're not doing it, we're going to hold players accountable for it, and, play hard all the time. If you're not playing hard, like, that's not acceptable, right? These are all just, like, basic staples of culture stuff where, like, if we had a coach like, Eric Spoelstra, hypothetically, I don't think he'd be letting as much of this stuff slide. And I don't think some of the effort mistakes that, like, Scoot has been making, getting back on defense and stuff like that, would be sliding as much as it is. I mean, listen, they could be going over all this stuff in film and trying to hold him accountable that way, but I think there's a difference between that and a player doing it in a game, and you're going to immediately, in the middle of the game, hold him accountable for not running back on defense or falling asleep and getting back cut for the millionth time. So that's where, like I said, I'm just speculating. I'm just watching the same games that you guys are if you're actually watching games. And that is kind of what I come to when thinking about Chauncey is, man, is he just waiting for this offseason? Is he just waiting till next season? Because sometimes I get that feeling.
Yeah. I just think he's still fairly inexperienced. I just think he doesn't know what to do, like, or how to improve some of these things. He thinks it, like he knows what needs to be done. He just doesn't know how to accomplish those things. And maybe someday he will, but it probably won't be as a Blazer coach after next year, probably. But yeah, like, so you get people like Todd Keith and chat who say no coach is ever going to coach this team to 30 plus wins. Like,
that comment, if it's regarding what I said, Eric, just is completely missing the point.
I know. Well, I mean, you see that this is the argument on Twitter and with everyone, like media, everyone. It's like, well, what's he supposed to do with this roster? Like, Popovich has a losing record this season or whatever. As well, Pop also has 5 championships, so, like, he's given a little bit of grace to know that when he's coaching a bad team, they're most likely getting good coaching because he's been a good coach for 25 years now. Whereas when Chauncey is not getting the most out of a team, especially on defense, where you should be seeing a young team improve throughout the year. You should see them flying around and giving maximum effort because that's how you make it in the league. It is, I mean, that's not, I don't think he should be given the benefit of the doubt because he hasn't proven that he can actually get a team to do those things on the defensive end. So, go ahead.
Anyone who uses Greg Popovich to defend Chauncey as a comparison is not debating well. That's all I'm going to say, because they're completely opposites as coaches in terms of what they've accomplished, number one. Number two, it's more about building a process than outcome, right? Like, and that's developing players, so hopefully we can get better outcomes in the future, so hopefully we can win more games in the future, but also coaching is a process, man. And just like in business, before you achieve your outcome, you got to develop a process that gets you there, and there's going to be multiple things that are inputted into that, right? There's going to be multiple parts of the process. Regarding a basketball team, right, like, a big part of the process defensively is little executional stuff that nobody is expecting to be close to perfected with a young team, right? And we're going to lose games because of defensive mistakes because we don't have that experience, but we expect it to, A, be held accountable, B, improve during the season, right? Like, these players need to be taught how to position themselves to get through screens. We need to just not throw our hands up and just simply run drop, because that's not doing anyone any favors defensively in terms of developing, right? Like, it's literally the other 3 guys stay home and the big just sits in the paint and the guard just, like, follows the ball handler over, and even the guy getting screened does a pretty bad job about that. But, like, run them through some different schemes. They're going to make mistakes out of it and lose a bunch of games because of it, but they can learn from trying to run different stuff, especially if it's being taught correctly, especially if some of this technique stuff is being taught correctly. And there's just so many mistakes defensively with effort, but also technique and just little executional stuff, positioning that with a lot of players on this team, I feel like it hasn't really gotten better over the course of the season. And that's where it's not about them losing a bunch of games or they were never going to win a bunch of games. That's when it comes all the way back to, okay, why aren't they improving more? Is the process a little bit broken? Are these guys not being coached correctly on the defensive end? Because there's just some things that certain guys are doing right now that I don't think should be happening still.
Yeah, and so Todd Keith followed up by saying, well, what coach would you want? Like, what kind of coach would you want coaching this team right now?
Teaches coaches well? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We didn't know Mark Dagnall before he was OKC's coach. He's a good coach. We didn't know Will Hardy before he became Utah's coach. He's a good coach. Like, who knows?
And why am I blanking on? Who was the Memphis coach?
Taylor Jenkins.
Taylor Jenkins. So these guys they don't have great rosters, or didn't have good rosters, or had injuries or things like that. And their defenses were like Dagnall. Even when OKC wasn't made the playoffs, like 2 years ago, they were pushing being a top 10 defense for a lot of the season. We talked about the Grizzlies being 11th in defensive rating this year. I don't know where the Jazz defensive rating is, but it feels like they compete a lot. So, and Hardy is, when you watch him, he does a pretty good job in my mind of holding the young guys accountable. So I want but all those guys, what they all had in common were they were longtime assistants and had a good reputation as a good assistant coach, and then got promoted. Whereas Chauncey was an assistant for one season, didn't really have a lot of experience, didn't have something that, like Will Hardy was, like, you always heard his name associated with the Boston Celtics and a big part of their success, and Taylor Jenkins, the same thing. You heard rumors about him. Dagnall, I think, was on OKC's staff with Donovan beforehand. So you hear stuff about these guys, about how they're on the come up, and it may take several years to do it, but in year 3, none of those guys' teams were looking like the Blazers look right now, where they're just like totally lost. And I mean, I watched Uprise tonight. Like, the guy just, I mean, I don't know what you can do when he's your starting center, on defense. You're already at a disadvantage. But that guy just like left Zubac, like, it was like 10 times. He just like wandered away and like didn't make it to the ball, wasn't helping on a drive or anything. He just like left where he was supposed to be and gave up a pass or an offensive rebound or something. And it's just like, what are we doing? I don't understand, man. And then the Blazers were shooting a freaking free throw, and we let Paul George beat us down on a missed free throw. They just throw it ahead to Paul George. No one gets back on defense. And he gets, I think we ended up fouling him before he could dunk it. Or if it was an and one or something. I don't remember. But, stuff like that doesn't happen this much on like a well-coached team. So I don't really care who it is, as long as they're hammering home all these principles and fundamentals and habits of a young team that should be etched into their brain right now, that there's no excuse for not getting back on defense or for our transition defense to look this poor throughout the whole season. It's okay if it looks bad at the beginning of the season when these young guys haven't been in the system for a while. But if it's like regressing or the same as it was, as bad as it was at the beginning of the season, with no improvement, that's a problem, I think, with coaching.
Yeah, like, there's possessions, and there was a possession in this game, and it was Uprise, where we just run away from the ball in transition.
Yeah, Ant did it too. He left Harden, I think, or what? Like at the free throw line, he just like walked away.
Was that the play they called the timeout in the first quarter?
I don't remember if it was the first or second quarter, but yeah, there was a play where.
So that's the play I'm talking about. There's a play where Reith is running and he's right in front of the ball and he just keeps running down into the paint, like towards the corner. Ant was guarding the guy in the corner, so like Ant like came up and tried to bait him into passing, but like Ant was stuck in no man's land because Reith didn't pick up the freaking ball.
I think it happened another time where Ant picked up ball, but he thought someone else was coming to pick up ball, so he went and got the corner, and then no one came out. And yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the play we're talking about because, yeah, he like came up like he was going to pick up ball and then tried to go back to the corner and left the guy wide open. But like at the start of that play, man, it's just Reith, like we do a really bad job of matching up in transition. There's another play where Scoot picks up Harden, and Scoot actually played decent transition defense. I think it was Harden. It was someone. I think Ant was on Kawhi on the wing, and Scoot picks up the ball and actually keeps him in front, does a decent job, and Ant's guarding Kawhi on the wing, and Ant's just like way too far off him. But he's also not fully in a spot where he could even stop a drive, so he's just in no man's land. And they kick out to Kawhi, and Ant does a okay job of getting back out and contesting the shot, but you're talking about Kawhi Leonard. Like, it doesn't really matter if it's an okay contest. He might as well be wide open. And he hits a three. And it's just like, man, you're one pass away in transition. You see the ball coming towards you. You see your guy coming towards you. Why are you 3 steps off of him, 4 steps off of him? Especially when Scoot is there in front of the ball and we actually pick up balls. So a lot of our problems stem from, like, we suck at picking up ball. We suck at actually, like, staying in front of the ball handler, which that is more like, you know, maybe some individual defensive limitations, potentially, when you got a guy coming at you full steam, especially some of the best players in the league. They are kind of hard to stop. But, you know, that's different if a player scores on that compared to, like, we don't pick up ball, or one pass away, we're just in no man's land and, like, not even close to our guy one pass away in transition when it was, like, an easy matchup opportunity. And that's just some of the defensive mistakes that guys still make that they were making at the start of the season. Remember, game 1, we had awful transition defense against this very same Clippers team, and it looked exactly the same tonight. Like, they made a living in transition in the first half, and there's just too many problems, right? So transition defense is a major problem.
Yeah, the other thing that's a major problem still is closeouts.
Dude, we jump at everything.
There's several horrible ones. Yeah, we fall for every pump fake. Dude, there was one in the middle of the paint. Kawhi Leonard, literally, like, it was the slowest pump fake I've ever seen. Like, and he knew what was going to get. I forgot who it was. But, like, whoever it was jumped, and he just went right around him and laid it in. Like, we jump at every pump fake.
Yep.
We close out too hard. Like you said, we jump too often on closeouts, and they just go right around our defenders. And once again, if this kind of stuff is being hammered home and taught, and technique and accountability, all these things, film study, if it's being studied the right way, if you're calling out the appropriate people for messing up plays that they should be doing better at, and it's not getting any better, then somehow you're not teaching it right. So
yeah. I'm tired of the let's run a double team half-heartedly at the ball and then get picked apart behind it.
Yeah. Especially
because, like, certain guys just don't rotate. Like, Uprise rotates slow as hell.
Yeah. There was one good double team in this game. That was like one of the first plays of the game where Scoot came on a double team in the post and stole the ball. That was the only like good double team of the entire game. All the rest of them were like too slow and not in the right times or positions, and didn't really lead to much.
Yeah, like, you got to know when to double, and you got to rotate. But, like, you know the dunk that Zubac had that was wide open in the middle of the second quarter when we doubled George in the post? Mm-hmm. You know what play I'm talking about? I mean, they're running some action up top, so, like, Ant and Kamara are, like, above the three-point line, so they can't really rotate down. And they throw the ball into George, and he's, like, posting up almost at the three-point line, like he's 17 feet away from the rim. And Reith just, like, slowly jogs over to him. Just like slowly jogs over to him, so like Zubac is just wide open in the paint. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just like, what? Our doubles are horrible. Our doubles are a joke. And like some of it is like Reith has to know when he should not double. I'm not really necessarily going to hold Chauncey accountable for like this specific instance where if you are trying to double, like Reith has to know he can't double there. But you double down. You don't double from under the rim because you already have a defender in between the ball and the rim. So why are you sending another defender from the rim? Right? He's not like blocking any sort of passing lane that the initial defender already isn't. And it's just stupid because you're leaving a guy under the rim. You have to rotate down towards the rim. Some situations, if you have like two guys baseline, it's different. But if you have an offense that is 4 out without anyone in the corner, you can't double from underneath the rim because you have no backside help. Basically, somebody has to help down from the free throw line down, but it's too late when you're able to just throw the ball up around the rim and it's a 7-footer standing there. So that's just, our double teams seem to have no thought behind them. There's no rotations behind most of them, and some of them you could see coming from a mile away. And it's like, we're doing it so much, Eric, that part of it definitely is by design.
Yeah.
There's no way we'd be doing it this much. And it's just, it's amateurish. It's a joke.
It's, you know what it is, Tori? It's, we need to start double teaming. And so you'd be like, okay, Scoot, you need a double team on this next play. But like, that's not how you double someone, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's
like you don't just call for a double. We talked about this last show, so we don't have to hit it home too much. But like, we don't double out of pick and roll. That's when the best time to double is out of pick and roll, where you can trap them, or some sort of action where you're already near. You already have a second defender near the ball handler. And how many times tonight did Kawhi get the ball in the wing, get a screen and go across the paint and, you know, take a guy one-on-one? We don't trap that. We don't do anything. It's so weird. I don't understand why we call for double teams when we do and don't call for double teams when they're appropriate.
Yeah. I'm also, Eric, I'm sick of the zone. I'm sick of the zone. You can't run zone in the NBA regularly and expect to stop anyone. And we're trying to develop players. Mm-hmm. Why the hell are we running so much zone? Because we do a terrible job of it, and guys look visibly confused. It's dumb. It's so dumb. After
one rotation, no one knows what they're supposed to do or
Yeah, I got a picture actually, and the thing is our defense is so messed up. Like watching back some of these clips, it's like I think we're in zone, but maybe not. This picture, Eric. Just take a look at this picture. It's gonna load for you like 5 seconds after I put it on the screen. But so I'm pretty sure we're in a zone here, and the top guys are Kamara and Scoot. But Kamara's on Scoot's side of the floor, and Scoot is guarding no one. Yeah. And Ant is telling Scoot to go up. And this was the play at the end of the half where like Chris is just stuck in no man's land. Like I think he backed up a little bit here, so Harden kicked it to George, and George just hit a catch and shoot 3, but also had like man wide open. And it's just like, why do we have Scoot at the top here just guarding nobody?
Yeah, that's why I hate like a 2-3 zone, because it's like all you have to do is, if you have like a guy like Kamara who's going to always take ball, all you have to do is then dribble to the side where the second guy is up top, like Harden does, and it's like really simple to beat it.
Yeah, it's super simple.
Yeah.
I mean, the alternative is you could shift the zone where Scoot shifts down to like Ant spot, Ant shifts to the middle, and Moses Brown shifts to like where Man is, and the zone shifts that way, but that doesn't work when it's Ant shifting under the rim, right? Like if you had both guards up top, then you'd have a forward shifting under the rim, and if you had a mobile center, say DeAndre Ayton, and like a good secondary rim protector, you know, if we get Alex Sarr hopefully, or, you know, if you had Jeremy Grant, then it's possible to shift the zone to like let Kamara pick up the ball and you're fine. But when you play a guard in the bottom of the zone like we do with Ant, if the zone has to shift towards the camera, towards where Man is, because Chris Murray is shifting up, Moses has to shift towards Man, Ant has to shift under the rim, that's a 6'3 guard. And that's part of the reason why it's not great to play a 6'3 guard at the bottom of a zone. So, I mean, just stuff like this happens all the time, and it's just like, what the hell are we doing? Like, this does not look like a well-coached team. You cannot excuse this with youth. Like, a possession like this, you cannot excuse it with youth. Like, you start running 2-3 zones in middle school, bro. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody knows how to run a 2-3 zone that's ever played organized basketball at any sort of level. Now, there's certain nuances of it that some guys will execute more consistently than others, but, like, this is just a complete breakdown for no reason. We were set, and they're just walking the ball up the court, and it's a complete breakdown from the get-go. That's a problem, and that can't be explained away with youth, and that's where a lot of the criticism for Chauncey comes in.
Well, Tori, first of all, we don't have enough time to practice, so what do you expect them to do? Two, God, I wish I could remember which team this was, but I was watching a college game.
Yeah.
And what they had, so what they were doing is if Tamani like picked up ball and then he dribbled to the side that the other top defender was on, like Scoot was in this play, Scoot would then just very quickly just flip with Tamani and be the other side of the top, instead of just standing there in no man's land. So he would recognize as soon as Harden started dribbling to his right, he's got to cover for Tamani up top. And so I was watching this college team. Once again, I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was, but they kept flipping around, like, and it was like awesome. And they like didn't give up a single open man. They just kept moving around and around and around and around, and everyone knew what to do and was like just flying around, getting to their spots, and like it was like beautiful. And I know you can play zone differently in college, but this was all perimeter stuff, so you could do the same in the NBA. Yeah, as BK says, college teams have time to practice, so that's what it was. But I mean,
that's not, guys. That is very simplistic. Mm-hmm. Very simplistic. The thing is I feel like some people think some of this stuff is more complex than it actually is. Like, that is an extended, it basically starts off as a 1-1-3, and the guy at the top stays with the ball, and it morphs down into a 2-3, so the guy up top stays with the ball, and the guy behind him goes to the other side. Mm-hmm. And it morphs into a 2-3. Like, that's so simplistic. Like, I used to talk a lot more about, my playing experience running just complicated stuff because of, like, conversations like this. Because I feel like some people think a lot of the stuff is complicated when it's not. So I'd bring up, like, guys, I was in freaking high school and ran a, like, zone that was a mix between a 1-2-2 and a 1-3-1 hybrid. And we executed it well, right? But, you were in high school. You can't play in the NBA. This is NBA basketball, moron. I'm going to go start a Reddit thread about it. Like, so I don't talk about any of my own experience ever. But the point is there's stuff that's run that kids run in high school that is more complex in terms of zones than anything you see in the NBA.
Maybe they don't anymore, Tori.
Well, maybe not anymore. I mean, we had a good high school coach that was that drilled stuff into us, but he knew how to teach stuff. High school kids could pick it up, amazing. But like at the end of the day, like it's none of the zone stuff is complex, and we make so many mistakes out of it that boggles my mind. It would have been timeout, cussed out if we made that type of mistake. If we never ran a 2-3, but if we ever ran a 2-3 and made that type of mistake that I just showed on the screen, it'd be instant timeout. We were getting cussed out on the bench in high school. You know what I mean? Like, it's just silly, and that's where it's like, man, it's the NBA. You cannot be making these types of mistakes in the NBA, some of the defensive mistakes that we make, as regularly as we do. I understand maybe once or twice you're going to have a brain fart. Not this often.
Yeah, what are you doing running the zone so much if you're going to have these mistakes so often, too?
And that's where it's like, it's not getting better. Like, we're still making stupid mistakes like that, man.
The same thing happened last year, Tori. It was like this zone worked because no one had adjusted to it. And then, so we get off to a hot start. And then as soon as teams start to figure out how to attack it and how to break it down, we just kept running it because it worked at the beginning of the year. So why, like, it's got to be able to work again, right? So nope. They just keep running a gimmick defense as one of their main package defenses, and it's not going to work in the NBA unless they change some sort of rule about it. But it's not going to work. It's good to throw out there, like, you come out of a timeout, they have a set play, you haven't run zone all game, and you like throw a zone at them. Like, you can throw someone off, but like to have it, I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I would love to play against the Blazers zone and drop scheme on man. Like, I don't know, like, either way, or like, I would just love it as a player, you know, like going at their zone, man. There's so many holes, so many ways you can find it. All you'd have to do is, I mean, like, it's not even hard, but like, if it was difficult or even if they were doing a good job of stopping the perimeter, all you need is someone to come up to that high post area and get them the ball, and that would be just like any other time where we have one person trying to guard two people down there, and it's weird.
Yeah, no, it's not good. I mean, Uprise is not playable on a good team, no matter how well he's doing offensively, because of his defense. Like his defense might be worse than Enes Kanter. And I feel like we've given him a pass or really haven't really focused on it. I'm just going back and watching through literally every made basket they have. Reith tries, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
He is so bad, unfortunately. I wish he was a good defender. I wish he was a serviceable defender. I'd take simply somewhat below average defense from him, given the things he can do offensively. Oh my goodness. He rotates too slow. He doesn't provide any vertical challenge at the rim, like no rim protection. He's not somebody you can exactly switch out and expect to stay in front of guys. He bites at almost every pump fake, just like Trendon Watford did last year. Like that Kawhi drive and dunk, that was the play you were talking about earlier, right? The one where Kawhi just like curls to the mid range and like barely even pump fakes and Duop jumps at it.
Yeah.
And he gets a dunk. Like, the game plan, the thing is, if you got a guy like that in the rotation, the game plan is, if you have good perimeter players, try and force him to switch on you and then pump fake.
Mm-hmm.
And then their center is just completely out of the picture. And then you have a free lane to the rim. Or, you know, maybe you can sidestep and shoot a wide open three. Like, you have your pick. You have a bunch of great options off of that. If you got your center with switching, as much as like Chauncey loves to switch, we're one of the heaviest switching teams in the league. If you got Uprise switching out onto guys that much and biting at every pump fake, it's easy. It is so easy. And that, like, in a playoff series, if Uprise ever finds a way to be in the rotation on a team in a playoff series, that's something that teams, if they don't figure it out before the series, will figure out at some point in the series, and he'll get played off the floor. It sucks. I love Duop. I love his story. I love that he's in the NBA. He's a good offensive player. But my goodness, man, the defense is really, really rough.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done a good job. At least I felt like he was doing a little better job earlier in the season, but the last couple weeks have not been good in this regard, and that's just positioning and being in the right spot to help. And we've seen a lot of lesser athletes and unathletic people be decent defenders if they're in the right positions and are, kind of have a smart awareness and IQ on defense. And so when you don't have that, I mean, you pretty much have to have a four-man who's like an elite rim protector, or like the best point of attack defenders of all time on the perimeter so that he's not getting exposed. And but it's in today's NBA, it's almost impossible to hide a bad defensive center. You can hide like an average one maybe, but a bad one, it's just really hard to like, you can't just have him go guard the corner guy, right? Like you can with a guard who can't play defense. So yeah, I don't really know how to fix it because it's not. I don't think it's his defense. Unfortunately, isn't that fixable.
Yeah, and I mean, not to pick on Duab, man. I mean, like just watching through some of these clips, like Tamani guarding a screener, guarding Paul George, who's setting a back screen, and Tumani sets a better back screen than Paul George does because he doesn't get out of the way, doesn't give the big man a gap to get through. And it's like if you have a guy setting a back screen like around the free throw line, he's most likely going to pop to the top of the key. He's most likely not going to back cut you because he literally just set a back screen for somebody who went to that area anyway, so there's somebody occupying it. Okay? So it's just situational stuff like that comes with experience, right? Like that's not maybe necessarily a coaching thing, but that's something with Tamani where like he's a solid defender, but you got a guy setting a back screen, you got to give the guy getting screened a gap. You don't want to make the screen twice as wide. And there was a play end of the third quarter, towards the end of the third quarter, that Paul George hit a it was actually like about 6:54 left third quarter where Paul George sets a back screen for Tice, and literally Moses Brown and Kamara just trip over each other. So then Paul George pops, and it's like Tumani and Moses Brown are screening each other. It's bad. Like you gotta teach these guys in certain situations what to do. And certain situations are going to be different than others. It's not, oh, you always give a gap on the screen. Sometimes you need to jam the screener. But if he's setting a back screen, okay, you probably want to give him a little bit of a gap and shade towards the ball. Some coaches will coach it differently, okay? Some coaches might teach you on a back screen, hug the screener basically, stay behind the screener so that the guy getting back screen can get through. I prefer to give a gap there, and you can shade up the line towards where the guy is probably going to pop to. But, I mean, we just don't do little things like that. We don't execute. We switch, and, I mean, it's frustrating because, like, I've seen a couple of plays lately where Jabari is not giving much effort. And he's a guy that always seems to be an effort guy, Eric. There's a play in the third quarter where he just switches and just like jogs after the guy that set the screen, and as he slips the screen, and he gets a bucket. And Jabari's just like jogging after him.
Yeah, there was also a play where he didn't get a call or a rebound or something under the hoop, and him and Scoot was already near half court. And him and Scoot were the last two down the court out of all 10 players. Just, I don't know what they were doing, just like walking up the court. And it wasn't like a short amount of time. It was like a pretty long, noticeable time. It's like, where's Jabari? Why is he not down the court yet?
So it's a mess, man.
You know what I was wondering, though?
What?
Okay. I know he's super raw, and he's probably not going to amount to anything anytime soon. But of all the centers we have on our team, if any of them right now, without Aiden, is going to figure out how to become a defensive impact type player, it's Ibubaji. Why is he not getting any minutes in a game like this? Like, why are we playing Moses Brown over him? I don't understand, man. Like, put Baji in, see if his rim protection can make a difference in some of these things that we're not getting from the other players.
Yeah. Yep. See how he handles some of the defensive situations that Duapreath can't.
Yeah.
But I mean, people have said like Chris Murray's playing good defense. I think he has good moments, Eric, but he has enough bad ones that I don't want to say he's more than just solid on that end. Just some of it's a little bit how he navigates screens, which I get it. Most guys that size aren't going to be the best at navigating screens. He's solid. He's a rookie, so this isn't really even a knock on him. You expect him to make some mistakes. He still has a little ways to go defensively, I think. I don't think he's been bad, but I'm not ready to join people in saying that he's been good or really good defensively.
Yeah, I wouldn't say really good. I think he stands out as being decent defensively because the rest of our defense has been so bad.
Yeah.
I think he's doing a fairly good job. And I mean, this gets talked about all the time, like on broadcasts and stuff, but I mean, he's just like okay at a lot of different things. And unfortunately, shooting's not one of them. Tonight he was good, but yeah, like defense, he's okay. Both off ball and on ball, I think he's decent, and that I think a lot of people are just are used to not being okay, you know, like so many players just are terrible on defense. So it just stands out, I think, when players do play good defense. But at the same time, I mean, like tonight he was guarding Kawhi a little bit. And the matchups are just, it's kind of weird when Tamani's taking Harden and Kawhi is being guarded by Chris Murray. So you got your forwards guarding him, and then like Scoot has to take Paul George then. And then you, like we talked about, you have a center who's not helping any of these guys out. Yeah. So I don't know if you can really judge our perimeter defense tonight that well. But, yeah, it's just a case where I think Chris is doing an okay job. But at the same time, most nights he's not getting the toughest defensive assignment like Tamani is, where he's up front on the ball handler.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. Scoot, you've talked about his effort. I'm starting to get annoyed. He had a really bad play in this game where he just didn't even look to box out, and his guy crashed the board, and the ball was kind of by Scoot, but Scoot didn't even jump for it. Just like literally let his guy walk in for an offensive rebound and just shrugged it off. Like, Scoot is not playing with a consistent level of intensity right now, and it's not good. And I know it's tough, they're losing a bunch of games, but what you can control day in, day out is your approach to the game and have some level of competitiveness as a pro. And it's been rough with him. We've chilled on Chauncey criticism lately, I feel like, Eric, but I am so far out on him. Just because we've chilled on criticism doesn't mean I'm not completely out on him being the coach of this team. It just means, okay, yeah, they are in a rough spot lineup and rotation-wise, and I'm not going to hold Chauncey over the coals every post-game stream, given who he's trotting out there. I feel like these past couple streams have been good because I think we've been light on him. We've maybe taken it maybe a little too easy on him the past 2, 3, 4 weeks because we haven't really sat here and criticized Chauncey a whole lot.
I mean, it's the same crap, though. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You don't want to talk about the same stuff as Wednesday night
post-game show.
It's funny I said that in the intro,
and I mean, we kind of have, but
right.
It's... What else is there to talk about? Like, offensively, I guess we can talk about a couple good performances. I don't want to... Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing about Scoot since we're on there. I cannot believe we're sitting here talking about, like, his effort level and motor. Like, because that was, like... His shooting and stuff, was one thing. There's other things we could have... It wouldn't have surprised me if he struggled with his rookie year. But the level of effort on defense, like, I couldn't have imagined when we drafted him. And hearing all the things about how hard he works and all that kind of stuff, how that would look the way it has this season. Like, I'm shocked about it. Like, I don't understand how it could be this bad for someone who apparently has all the intangibles, all the right work ethic, the right mindset, all that kind of stuff. Like, I cannot believe this is a conversation.
Yeah. It's frustrating, bro. It's frustrating. And it's still crazy to me. Like, let me just summarize it this way. To me, it is very clear that Chauncey Billups is not a good NBA coach and not going to be one anytime soon. And there's people that will give him the ultimate pass because of who he has in the lineup. Okay? That's funny. Like, there's some people that give him the ultimate pass and say, like, how can you judge him given what he's had gone through in the past 3 years? I mean, it's funny because we give the head coach a pass for what he has to go through, but then we give the GM a pass for what he's made the head coach go through. It's kind of fascinating that way. Obviously, some of it is out of their hands in terms of injuries, but my goodness, like, at some point, stop making freaking excuses and start improving, because there's just some people that think that all the evaluation of a coach should be is who he has and whether or not you should expect them to win games. And they think the evaluation of a coach stops there. And maybe throw in, like, oh, if this player, like, this young player starts making more shots, like, that's development. And it's a pretty, like, slimmed down version of what evaluating a coach should actually be. And end of the day, not expecting them to win games. The measure should not be wins and losses. The measure should be improvement and fixing some of the problems that, despite who they're playing, these players should be improving on in terms of some of their execution mistakes that they're not. That's the full evaluation. And it goes back to, I don't trust Chauncey Billups to coach a good defense. I don't expect Chauncey to get players under him to execute defenses correctly. I don't believe in his ability as a teacher or as somebody that can implement some sort of scheme on either side of the floor and get his players to consistently execute it and know how to handle different situations that arise within whatever scheme, whatever set, whatever defense they're running.
Yeah.
It's just too often teams have been very ill prepared, and I don't think it's going to change. I think it transcends lineups because I think ultimately it's Chauncey just, unfortunately, I don't think is a good coach.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, my problem is I think Chauncey would be okay if he was like a CEO type of coach where he let his assistants do a lot of work and he just kind of oversaw the grand scheme of things. Um, but he needed a clean. I think they needed to have different assistants. They should have cleaned house last off season, and instead they kept pretty much everyone. I think, and so you're running it back with the same assistants. There's no new voices there from last year. It's the same stuff. You don't have anyone on this coaching staff that, like, I mean, maybe Scott Brooks does, but I mean, he's flamed out as a coach as well. But like, there's no one that's going to challenge Chauncey or question what he's doing or whatever. It seems like it's all people. I mean, it for sure is a couple of them, like his brother. um, like, there's no one on this coaching staff that's like, oh well, he's an up and coming head coach, like we talked about with other assistants. They're all just kind of there and happy to have a job, and um, I thought they should have, because we knew they weren't firing Chauncey. I thought they should have at least given him some different voices, maybe make him a little uncomfortable with how much, like, bring in some people that aren't necessarily his handpicked guys. And you bring in a smart mind like Anisha Curry or whatever, and she gets let go after one season, and you still don't know what happened there. Like, I don't know. It feels like the whole coaching staff is all struggling with the same thing.
Yep. Anyway, I'll drop a video on Chauncey maybe before the end of the season, but probably after the season, just kind of reviewing his season as coach and talking about some of these issues and maybe showcasing some examples and so forth. But yeah, man, offensively, let's just quickly touch. I mean, we gotta start with Chris, I guess. 21 points, second highest score for the Blazers. Scoot had 24, but Chris career high. I've said this: if he makes threes at a really high clip, he's a role player. Okay. I still, even if he ends up becoming a good three-point shooter, I still don't like the pick for the Blazers entering a rebuild, because it would have made much more sense to swing for upside, considering the Blazers don't have a guy. And obviously at 23, you're kind of limited there. But, you know, if there's any way to trade up for Cam Whitmore, that ultimately would have been the play. Unfortunately, didn't make it happen. Like, he's impressed me with his shooting. The last 2 games, he's still shooting 28% on the season from 3. He's still shooting worse on the season from 3 than Scoot Henderson. Okay, and it's going to be hard to play him unless he figures out that 3-point shot. And hopefully these past 2 games is him starting to figure out that 3-point shot. It's really that simple for me.
Yeah, I mean, repeat that line for several players, right? But yeah, I think all the forwards we have right now, if they could consistently hit in the upper 30% percentile for 3-point shots, they'd be fine. If not, they're probably not rotation players on really good teams. They're decent ones on average teams, but not on good teams. So I mean, we know what forwards I'm talking about, but like, yeah, I completely agree. It's just going to come down to how well they develop their 3-point shots.
Yep, absolutely. You know, we've seen Jabari Walker have 20-point games this season and have games where he's made a couple threes and done the little things and that sort of thing. It seems like we're kind of at a point with Jabari where even when he has a decent performance and like he made a couple threes last game, it feels like we're getting to the point with him where like we're starting to get used to him just being like okay and solid, and the bar for him maybe is raised a little bit and he's not really exceeding it. So he's not really standing out in the same way like Chris, because he's struggled with the shot all season. You know, he starts making threes and he started playing recently. Like, I feel like it's easier to notice like him when he does good things. At some point, he's going to have to provide legitimate value. The easiest thing for him is going to be that 3-point shot. and then doing everything else solid. He's a solid player, but
Well,
we'll see. We'll see.
the thing about Chris, though, the only reason, like I didn't write him completely off is he's like the only one this season that didn't get a legit chance to show anything earlier in the season. And now later in the season, when he has been given a chance, he has shown improvement, and the minutes I think have been good for him. So like I do think a little bit of, I mean, it's tough because he is an older rookie, so you would expect him to be better than a younger rookie. But we definitely have seen him as he got put into the lineup, started several games now, gotten consistent minutes instead of just like playing every once in a while. I mean, you have seen him start to play a little better, and that's encouraging. At least he's progressing somewhat. Whereas I don't know if a lot of other players you can say that they're that much better than they were earlier in the season.
I just think unless he sustains some of what he's done the last 3 games, it's just inconsistency since he started. Yeah. Just if, you look at things like he's doing something solid, and he does things outside the box score. So, I'll give him credit for that. But, I mean, before the last 3 games, he had 26 points in 5 games and was starting and playing approximately, just eyeballing it, like 26, 27 minutes a game, averaging like 5 points per game. And during that stretch was 3 for 11, 4 for 16 from 3, right? 25%. The last 2 games he shot the 3 ball well. That's always going to make him look a lot better. But until that stretch, like, he still was not shooting well until the last 2 games. Chicago had 10 points, was 5 for 9. Did some impressive things off the drive, but still was 0 for 2 from 3. So I like that he followed up last game with another good shooting night. I don't expect him to go 3 for 6 every night, but he needs to go 3 for 6 more often because he didn't have a single night shooting like that other than maybe a 2 for 3 game. He did have a 3 for 6 game earlier in the year against Phoenix, but like it can't be followed up by 0 for 4, then 1 for 5, then 1 for 6. So I like that he strung 2 games together. I still think that he has been playing a bit better as a starter, but I don't know if it's more than just inconsistency. Because one game he'll have 14, just as a score. One game he'll have 14. He had 38-minute game against Memphis earlier in the month. He had 2 points and was 1 for 6. So just statistically, it's inconsistency. The good thing is he does things outside the box score, so that gives him a higher floor when he's not scoring the ball. But in terms of contribution offensively, like, I am not ready until the end of the season to like have a more firm evaluation on him that's different than what I had earlier in the season when I was very down on him.
For sure. I'm not saying he's earned a starting level spot or rotation spot moving forward past this season. All I'm saying is he has seemed to gotten more comfortable the more he plays, whether that is resulting in him making shots. He does not seem as jittery or whatever as he was a few weeks ago. And I think if Tamani had these last 2 games that he did, we'd be like really ecstatic about Tamani right now, right?
I mean, Tamani had a stretch where he shot like 46% from 3 over 20
I know,
games.
but it wasn't. But he didn't have like a 20-point game or anything. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did he?
I mean, I'll pull up his game log, but
I don't know if he had a 20-point game at all. Maybe I'm forgetting one, but
I mean, he had a stretch there where he was shooting the ball well, but most games he was playing. I'll just read off the minutes here.
Yeah, it was only like 3 or 4 threes, and he'd make 1 or 2. Yeah.
But that stretch where he started shooting the ball well, and we like talked about how it like changed, and it was basically at the start of February, right? So February 4th, that's when he really started shooting the ball better. His minutes from then on, I'm just going to read them off. I'm going to round, okay? 23, 36, 20, 22, 18, 24, 18, 32, 21. He wasn't being given consistently heavy minutes like Chris has gotten until March 8th. He missed a couple games, and then 30, 31, 24, 30, 34, 33, past couple games before tonight, 14, 17. So I feel like he hasn't, maybe Chris lately has had a little bit more of an opportunity to have a 20-point game, but the benchmark shouldn't be like one 20-point game. Tamani's he had a game where he had 15 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, was 5 for 10, 2 for 4 from 3. Had a 3 for 4 shooting game against Memphis, had 15 points in 36 minutes. He had a 17-point game against Miami with 10 boards. Like, it's pretty close, you know what I mean? And he does it with a really impressive defense, and I don't know, it's...
Most games.
Yeah, most games, but I feel like we would not be going crazy for Tamani if he had a 3 for 6 game with 21 points. Like, we say, oh man, that's a good game. But I feel like he's had close to that game, and we haven't gone crazy over him. Like tonight, Eric, he had a... Oh, no, not tonight. I'm thinking about, what was it, yesterday? I don't know, 11 points. For some reason, I thought he had 15, but he's 5 for 11, 1 for 4 from 3. Like, okay, meh, whatever. But I feel like there's been nights where he's had 15 points and shot the ball well, and we haven't even really talked about him.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I think he's been fine. Like, I'm not saying anything bad about Tamani. I'm just saying I think we're being a little less harsh on Tamani's up and down inconsistencies than we are.
But
Chris has really gotten...
No. When he's had a 2 for 3 game, as I've always said that with Tamani as well. Like, he has a good shooting game or two, and I've always said he needs to keep this up for like a month. He needs to show me, okay, he can keep drilling threes for a more extended period of time. And then he has a 20-game stretch. He shoots 46% from 3 or whatever it was. Like, that's what I was looking for, right? If Chris Murray has a 20-game stretch where he shoots 46% from 3, I'll give him credit, for having a good shooting stretch that's more than just 2 games.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, unfortunately, Tamani has followed up that stretch lately, not shooting the ball too well. Since starting March 11th against Boston, 0 for 1, 0 for 1, 1 for 3, 1 for 5. He had the game against Chicago, he didn't shoot. He only played 14 minutes, and then was 1 for 1 against the Clippers in the first game, and then tonight was 1 for 4. So that makes him 2 for 5, 3 for 10, 4 for 13, 4 for 14. He's 4 for 15 in his last 7 games.
Yeah, it's such a small sample size. It's hard to...
Yeah.
I said the same thing when he was making shots. It's like, it's still, you miss a couple or you make a couple, and it looks completely different when you're only shooting 15 in 7 games. So
yeah,
it's tough to really get a huge evaluation.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's why I haven't been too hard on his shooting as of late. Before this game, he was 3 for 11. Like, it's just too small of a sample size, right? I mean, Tamani on the season is shooting 32.5% from 3. Chris, even after the last 2 games, is still shooting 28%. He's still almost 5 percentage points below Tamani. So that's why I haven't been as hard on Tamani with his shooting.
Yep.
Also, part of it was I expected Chris to be a better shooter than Tamani, too. So, anyway. Hopefully Chris can keep it up, though.
Yeah, hopefully.
The shot looks better to me lately. Did he speed up his release? I think the thing with his shot is not even necessarily speeding up the release. It's speeding up the shot prep. Like, getting his feet set, getting his... I don't know, like earlier in the season, he'd catch the ball, and it seems like he needed to get settled once he catched the ball. You don't have time in the NBA to get settled once you catch the ball. You got to be ready when you catch the ball to go straight up with it, straight up into your shot pocket. And it seems like he's a little more settled. I don't know if it just looks like that because he's catching the ball going straight into a shot, but he's doing a better job catching the ball going straight into a shot. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's like the catch, dip into the shot pocket, the set point, and then release. I don't know how much of that needs to speed up as much as him just like getting to that faster. Because he'd catch the ball and pause earlier in the year. So, yeah. Does that make sense, Eric?
Yeah, they're just going to have to put in a lot of work this offseason.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, he's still shooting threes that are pretty much wide open. Like, he had a kick-out pass from Scoot. He stepped into it going to the side. It was actually pretty nice. His shot does look a little quicker, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's still something where with a good closeout, I don't know. Like, the third one he hit was completely wide open. The first one he hit was pretty wide open. The second one he hit, there was traffic, but there was no contest. So that's the other thing with his shooting is like if he starts hitting threes that the defense does a little better job of contesting, then I'll feel better about his shot as well.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have a player review on him after the season where I take a look at his misses and take a look at his makes and like look for themes and then break it down in a video.
Nice.
So that should be good. I'm looking forward to that. Other players you want to talk about offensively?
Well, real quick before we forget, Tay Plays had a $2 donation. He said, "I'm going to be club level tomorrow. Cheers."
Ooh,
Thanks for the donation.
I've never sat in the club level, so that'd be pretty cool. I've gone to I think I was in a suite, so I got to see it a little bit. But yeah, a club level should be fun, man. Enjoy. Yeah. I appreciate you.
I'm actually going to the game tomorrow as well, Tori, so I might be a little late.
Well, there will be college basketball March Madness on, I think. So
you might be wanting to start it later anyway.
It might start later anyway, just like we did tonight. Because I'm enjoying college basketball. At least I can call 12 seeds over 5, apparently. The 111 seed I had going far in the tournament was the 111 seed that lost, unfortunately. We'll talk a little bit about the tournament in a second when we get to Tankathon and all that good stuff. What other players offensively do you want to talk about? Scoot, I feel like we haven't really talked about him.
Yeah, I mean, he had several good drives with that little reverse lay-in he does. He got to the lane a couple times, or got to the free throw lane a couple times, as I meant to say, and then, hit a few threes. So, not his only lay-in. He had at least 3 reverse lay-ins that he scored on in this game, so I don't know what you mean, his only lay-in. But, that's his only finish move. Yeah, I think he's most comfortable with that finish. Like the over-the-shoulder reverse lay-in. But hey, I mean, if he's comfortable doing that and he can get to that spot, just keep doing it. He had 10 assists tonight too, so that's good. Thought he did a pretty good job moving the ball, but he also takes a lot of shots too. So I don't know. Like sometimes I wish he would get even more assists or pass the ball even more.
Yeah, I mean, if Ant had 18 shots and 10 assists, we'd be saying he's not selfish. He's passing, like we'd praise him for it. So
no, I know, but like Scoot to me is more of a pass first, like ideally pass first point guard. So that's
18 shot attempts, 10 assists. I think is a fine balance. Fine ratio.
What did he make? 8 of 18.
Yeah. So much of his finishing is just like I don't know, dude. I don't know what to make out of some of his finishing struggles. Just rewatching some of his like misses. I like to do that after a game and just look at the way he's going into some of his layups. There is times where it's like, dude, you don't have to force that layup. That is a tough layup that you don't have down. You still have enough on the shot clock, like kick it out and make the next play, and he would be more efficient. Some of the problems I think with this finishing is he tries some really tough finishes that like he tries because he can get them off at the rim. So the calculation in the future maybe needs to not be, can I get this layup off? And it needs to be, can I get a good layup off that I am likely to make?
Yeah.
Because he had that, like, the play that kind of had me stumbling over my words a little bit. The backhand finish he had at the start of the second quarter that he just bricked off the backboard, didn't even hit rim past Tice.
Yeah.
That's a tough finish. He needs to get better with his left still. He needs to finish there with his left. Instead, he tries a right-hand backhand finish off 2 feet. There is a proper time for an inside-hand finish. He uses his right way too much because he's not comfortable enough with his left.
Yeah.
So in a lot of them, he won't even jump because of the way he's trying to set up a right-hand inside finish. So then he's finishing below the backboard and he's at like a really tough angle. Whereas if he just extended and jumped off his right leg with his left hand and knew how to finish with his left, it would be an easy layup. Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing for him improving his finishing is that left hand. That's number one. Because when he goes left, it's rough. There's also times where he goes right, and it's rough. There's more that goes into his finishing, unfortunately. The thing that I like, Eric, is like he is getting into the paint, though.
Yeah.
He's just not doing a good enough job once he's there. But he is getting there. Like, that's the first step.
You did have a couple times where he got the big switched on and couldn't get by him. But, yeah, for the most part, he is doing a good job of getting into the paint, which is a good sign.
Yeah. I would like to see him maybe cross over in the mid-range more. Like, change direction in the mid-range more. When a defender steps over. Like cross over, take one quick dribble, and get to that reverse that he loves so much. He had a good game, though. I mean, he had some tough finishes, had some nice finishes, a couple nice floaters. Was also 3 for 6 from 3, which he had been struggling shooting the 3-ball lately, so it was good to see him have a game where he got back on track a little bit. He started shooting the 3-ball well after he came back from injury, and especially like before the All-Star break. So it was really good to see him hopefully get his mind right a little bit, because I know he was in a little bit of a slump. Still curious to see just where his shooting ends up at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice to see.
We're good there pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That reverse layup, though, is definitely his bread and butter. Definitely. Who else you want to talk about?
Anthony was very passive this game. He only makes 1 out of 5 shots, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
1 for 6.
1 for 6. Had to leave the game with that injury we talked about. I just have a feeling he's going to be shut down at some point. And we're going to go another season with him getting shut down.
Yeah. Yep. Banton 7 for 16, kind of a Banton game there. I mean, 7 for 16 is decent. I did like that Rupert got a couple buckets. One where he was used as a screener and rolled. Rupert can finish, Eric. Like, he has finishing touch.
Yeah.
He needs to get stronger. A lot of his finishes he has no balance on, or a lot of times when he drives, he loses his balance. I think part of it is he just needs better core strength. Okay? Like, he's just not... He doesn't have enough balance on his own, but part of it's just, like, overall strength, upper body strength, lower body strength. Like, contact bothers him a little too much. Which is fine, because he's young. You know, it's fine. He can get in the weight room, and I think that will help him defensively, too, because... guys can kind of just bump him and create space, a little too much space by just bumping him.
Yeah, I think much like what you were talking about with Scoot, I just think he's still learning like when you're attacking, when it's a good idea to realize you're not going to get a good shot and back it back out, or pass back out, or dribble back out or something, and when to keep going with it. And I think not necessarily this game, but overall throughout the minutes he's played this year, I think he kind of struggles with attacking when it's not there sometimes. But yeah, overall, it's good to see him play, and he can get a shot off over a lot of people.
Yeah,
He just doesn't have the right angle sometimes.
Yeah, the thing is he has such a crazy wingspan, and he can finish like extended layups, little floaters, like at weird angles. For his age, like I've been impressed with some of the ways he's able to finish around the rim. I just think, man, if he was strong and could use his body, even if he doesn't get past people, if he could just use his body and get to like some of these little right-handed runners, little right-handed floaters, he would be good. Because a lot of times it's like he's struggling to get by guys, and then when there's contact, then he's off balance. And then he's like falling down and trying to pass the ball out, or like, gets completely bumped off his line and gets stuck, right? And I've seen, I think there's games where he'll try and drive, have that happen a couple times, then he'll stop trying to drive, and then he'll just like make the next pass, whatever. He's not going to force things. As he gets stronger and is able to actually like create that contact himself in a way that benefits him and absorb that contact, I think he'll look completely different as a slasher.
Yeah, maybe get to the free throw line a little bit too.
Yeah, because he has crazy wingspan. I think he's impressive finishing wise. He just can't handle contact at all. And if you're going to drive in the NBA, you got to be able to handle some sort of contact.
Well, Tamani's the same way right now. So
yeah, got to get these guys in the weight room.
He's still got plenty of time to figure it out. Hopefully, he does.
Yeah. So, and that half court, man, I wish that 3/4 court shot counted. That was sick. Anyone else offensively? I don't have anyone else I want to get to.
Taylor Packer says, I will say Man Banton's shot looks legit improved. He's pretty reliable on the catch and shoot. Yeah, I'm still hesitant to say that about anyone with a small sample size, especially considering the rest of the career has not looked very good shooting the ball.
Yeah.
But I do think he's got a solid shot. And sometimes all it takes is someone believing in you and giving you the green light and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of hard to tell with a tanking team if that's the case moving forward, if he's just going to be a decent enough 3-point shooter, or if it's just kind of a random outlier of a few weeks on a team that's not playing for anything.
Yeah. His follow-through isn't consistent, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
But also it might be like his lower body isn't consistent. He has smooth form. It just always goes back to me like his form looks good, but if you actually like really look at it and compare it to other shots, it doesn't look like he's shooting the same way every time. And the best shooters, they look like they're shooting the same way every time. Like sometimes obviously like Steph, Steph's insane. He's an outlier, but like he'll shoot at weird angles and contort his body and this and that. But like somebody for like if Steph is wide open, his shot looks the same every time. If it's a wide open catch and shoot, it looks the same every time. Okay. Banton, that's where it's going to be interesting to like compile the clips at the end of the year, do player reviews. Like Banton, his shot doesn't look the same every time. Like sometimes he's jumping to the side, sometimes he's following through a little lower, and he's still been making shots, so maybe he can just make it work. But I just wonder how good of a shooter could he be if he just made his shot a little bit more repetitive.
Yeah.
And I think
that's what he works on this summer.
Yeah.
Especially if he's on the team next year.
For sure. All right, let's do Tankathon.
Yeah, let's.
All right, so Blazers 1.5 games back out of Charlotte. They're 2 wins back, but Charlotte is in a stretch where they're like not playing. They have 3 days off, I believe. So we've actually played one more game than Charlotte. For a while, it was Charlotte playing one more game than us. So we're 2 wins off from Charlotte, 1.5 games behind. We still have a game coming up against them on April 3rd. So that's getting closer. So that's a game. I mean, if Charlotte can pick up a win between now and then, if they can pick up a win on us, that's a game that I feel like we could definitely lose. Given all the injuries that are piling up, still a chance to get 4th best odds. Memphis won tonight, so Portland has a 5-win cushion on Memphis. I don't think there's any chance Portland catches Memphis.
I mean, there's a chance, but
Like,
I don't think they're winning 5 games the rest of the year. But
they'd have to go 5-7 the rest of the year, and Memphis would have to lose every game for Portland to tie them. I just don't think that's realistic. So, Toronto is actually in 6th now. They're 23-47, and they're hardcore tanking because they want to keep their pick. So
they just suck.
It's top 6 protected. So they've lost 9 in a row. They suck. Golden State pick. Houston has won 7 in a row. They're trying to catch them. They're only 2 games off of them right now, so there is a chance. And Chicago's only 2.5 games off of them. Both teams 2 wins off of them. So if that pick can move back up to 11, then you're cooking with something. Then you're really cooking with something. If those mock drafts that hate Ron Holland so much that they have him at 11 come true, I hope Portland has the 11th pick. Imagine being able to get Ron Holland with the 2nd pick. Oh my goodness, I'd be ecstatic.
It'd be crazy, but I don't think there's any chance.
Let's simulate this thing, scroll up from the bottom like we normally do. 14 is New Orleans, 13 is Portland, 12 is OKC, 11 Chicago, 10 Atlanta, 9 is Utah, 8 is Houston via Brooklyn, 7 is San Antonio, and 6 is Charlotte. 6 is Charlotte, 5 is Detroit, Eric. Good old Detroit,
Blazers.
always getting screwed.
So we got Blazers, Wizards,
Spurs.
Toronto lost their pick.
Yeah, so Spurs, Wizards, Blazers, and Grizzlies. All right, you got 4th overall, San Antonio. I got to cue up the soundboard, make sure the soundboard is actually ready to go. 3rd overall pick is your Portland Trailblazers once again. I don't even know if the soundboard played. The soundboard's been glitchy lately, unfortunately. Anyway. Wait, let me try. No! The beautiful no. The 2nd overall pick is Memphis, and Washington gets the 1st overall pick. Top is Ricochet. Sar, please. That's what sucks about Topic being hurt lately. Like, he might be falling down boards, and it might be more likely that Sar wouldn't fall to 3 in a scenario like this. Earlier in the season, with Washington maybe wanting a point guard and Ricochet making a lot of sense for Memphis, it could have been a chance where Sar could have fallen to 3. But I don't think that's likely. It sounds like Ricochet and Sar are the top 2 picks in this upcoming draft, Eric.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if those 2 guys aren't the top 2 picks.
Yeah, I think some workouts and some measurements could maybe sway that a little bit, but overall, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. 3, if those 2 are off the board, I mean, I'm taking Ron Holland, I guess.
Yeah.
The dude can defend and has offensive upside. Like,
What if he's 6'5"?
he ain't 6'5". He's as tall as he's like, no, I've seen him stand right next to Mo right in front of me, so he's at least 6'6". He ain't 6'5". He'll be able to play the 3. He'll be able to defend.
You were taking him over Matas?
Matas has been playing good lately, man. I don't know, actually. Matas had another good game recently. It's him or Matas for me. at 3. Easily him or Matas. Cody Williams is playing with a hurt ankle, so he doesn't look like himself. I'm not going to discount him that much, but I did have some concerns of his game already. So, and he's been a little bit banged up this year. Like, I'm not going to discount him for his injuries, but you do have to wonder if maybe he's going to be a guy that's a little injury prone. He looks just a little more frail than his brother, unfortunately. So, needs to put on weight. I think he'll be able to.
I mean, Barry does have a couple of years till he's his brother's age when he came in.
Yes. Did Jalen Williams look that skinny as a freshman, though?
I don't remember him as a freshman, so...
Be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Be very interesting to see. I like Matas, man. Actually, at 3, I'd maybe go Matas. Portland needs they need a talent at a forward position that's more than just a scorer. Maybe Matas is only just a scorer, though. I don't know. I have faith in his upside as a passer, though. And I like his ball handling. Like, I don't think I think he's a little more dynamic if he pans out than Jeremy Grant. And he's a little bigger. And he's a better rebounder. What would you do at 3 right now?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with either of those guys. I do still really like Salon, but yeah.
Measurements will be big for Salon. I like him more if he's at least like 6'10".
Yeah.
I think he might be 6'10". I don't know. He's just like he's the ultimate lottery ticket. I would feel much more comfortable if he showed me more of a feel for the game, a feel for creating. He has impressive off the dribble stuff, but I feel like that's more so because of his physical tools when he does. It's not necessarily skill. I don't know. He's just raw. So I have a tough time with him, Eric. I don't know.
But I'm swinging on the chance that he does.
Does he have more upside than Matas, though? And do you have more faith in him reaching that upside than Matas reaching his?
I think Matas is safer, but I think Salon has a higher upside. Yeah.
See, I feel like Matas is safer. I feel like their upside is comparable, and I feel like Matas is more likely to reach his, so I'd go Matas. But because people just talk about ceiling, and that's the conversation that we've started to have, especially the past couple of drafts, is like, yes, they're ceiling, best case scenario, but there's also how likely are they to get close or reach that best case scenario.
Yeah.
I'd rather have somebody with a little lower ceiling if I was much more confident in their ability to reach that ceiling. If that ceiling was high enough, right? If it's like a role player versus a fringe all-star, might as well just take the chance on somebody becoming a fringe all-star. But if you're talking about Matas, I think he has a chance to become a fringe all-star level player. I mean, best case scenario, just a bona fide star. So rather take the chance on that. Salon, I think, also has that upside, just not as confident in his ability to reach it. But that's where if Salon is a little bigger and can maybe, if he gets stronger, play some 5 and is just more of a physical presence, just having a couple extra inches on him, then I feel more okay with swinging on him at the top of the draft.
See, I don't know if, in my mind, I don't think Matas has that high of a ceiling. Not in like a bad way. It's just I just don't know if he's, other than making more shots than he's done this year, I don't know if he's adding many other elements to his game.
I think he has a lot of upside as a passer, ball handler.
But I think Salon does too.
I think Buzelis has shown a lot more in that regard. So, I mean, that's the difference for me. Matas lately March 3rd. Man, the G League, did they not play or was Matas hurt?
I don't know.
It's
I think
such a
they
mess down there.
started shutting all those guys down, didn't they?
Tyler Smith, since March 5th, the only game for him is March 15th. So I don't know
Last Friday.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was, but I saw a tweet tonight that Matas played and had a good game. Let me search it. Let me see what his stat line was tonight. G League and night forward, Matas Buzelis tonight, 21 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 9 for 19 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3. Had a couple of blocks. So in the last 3 games, he's had 4, 4, and 7 assists. You know, it's only a 3-game sample. It's small, but I think he flashes a little more feel there. Salon averages more turnovers than assists. You know, I think Salon has potential in that. I just think he's further away. And I'm a little less confident, so yeah, I'd go Matas there. I also think there's a chance the Salon could fall to the Warriors pick if it's like 11-14.
Yeah.
And I would love to get Salon in that range. I think there will be a good player available at that range. That's why I really hope that pick stays in the lottery, because I think that the Blazers could get somebody that could hypothetically be their Jalen Williams like OKC has. Now, Jalen Williams was a 3-year college player, was ready to go right away. A guy like Salon would be more of a project, more of a developmental piece. But if it's a guy like Stephon Castle falls, or Ron Holland falls, or I don't know, is there any other names you'd want to toss into that? Like Chomchi, if he declares and measures well, works out well. Connect, even, if he's big enough to play the 3. I think all those guys could be steals, Eric.
Yeah. Let's see. I think. Hold on, I'm counting. Yeah, I think there's arguably, in my mind, like, well, I guess if you exclude Chomsky, there's like 11, 12 guys that I would just be praying one of them fell to 13. And if all of them are gone, we might have some tough choices, but I think at least one of them will still be there.
Yeah. I mean, because you got to think, like, guys that you don't have in that top 13 probably go before then. So, like, some team will take Filipowski maybe before then.
Yeah, or one of the centers, or I didn't include Collier just because it's the Blazers, but
did you include Shepard?
Yeah, Shepard and Dillingham I did just because.
I will say, man, Shepard did nothing against Oakland.
He was rough, man. Yeah,
like, were the lights too bright?
Really bad plays at the end.
Yeah. I don't want to discount him for one game.
Yeah,
especially when the rest of the team is a mess. But it doesn't inspire much confidence, man. Like, if he's like 6'1", I don't know. He's an enigma with how well he shoots the ball, but also he's listed 6'3", he's priced 6'1". And he can kind of pass for a shooter, so maybe he can be a point guard, but also there's question marks there. He won't fall out of my top 10, but I might move him down at some point a little bit lower.
Was the hype getting to be a little too much, you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Dillingham didn't look good either, though. Yeah, he had a couple big plays down the stretch, but 2 for 9. I mean, why aren't those guys getting more shots? Like, Calipari needs to go, bro.
Well, it's because there's too many of them. Like that's what I've been saying all year. Those teams that have too many players, you don't get to see. Because like a lot of the teams that have success have like one or two guys that take over a game, and yeah, it's I don't know.
Yeah, rough.
It's tough when you're taking turns with like three other players, you know.
What do you think of Grand Canyon's Tyon, however you say his first name, Tyon Grant Foster?
Honestly, tonight was the first time I ever really saw Grand Canyon play. So I don't really know a lot about him other than what I saw tonight. I don't really have a good feel.
So I think he's 23.
Yeah, I know he's older.
But like he had like a medical scare, collapse, like couldn't play a couple seasons, like played a little bit at Kansas as a bench guy.
Mm-hmm.
So like he maybe would have declared for the draft earlier, right? So maybe don't discount him. But like he's one of the guys like averages 20 a game, but he plays for a mid-major, right? 33% from 3. But he looks like a legit 6'7". He just Eric, you know I love my movement pattern guys. He just looks like an NBA player. Like I can't describe it any simpler than that. Like just looks like an NBA player. When just the way he slashes, his first step is good. He's can handle the ball a bit, shifty, athletic, can pull up from all 3 levels. Would like for him to shoot the 3 ball a little better. Kind of struggled with it a little bit earlier in his career, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he did shoot 76% from the free throw line this year. He's only played like 2 years of D1 college basketball.
How tall is he?
Like 6'7". He looks like a legitimate 6'7". So he looks like somebody that could play a small forward and be just a bucket getter at that position. Defensively, I don't know much about him, but he hasn't really been on draft boards. And like early second round pick, I would love to take a chance on him. Like he's one of those. He's older, but he feels like a high upside swing.
Yeah.
That maybe teams pass on because he's older, but I could see him coming in right away and being a bit electric. Like, definitely watch their next game and pay attention to him, and then because I'm curious what you think about him, given that you haven't really been able to watch him much. Because I watched their conference championship game, and I'd heard of him, and I had seen like a couple of clips here and there, but I like really didn't know much. And I watched their conference championship game, and it was like, damn, this dude looks like he should not be playing for a mid-major. Like, I was impressed with Grand Canyon because they looked like a power conference team, not a team that should be playing in whatever conference they're playing in. I forget what it's called. What, the WAC? WAC? So that's what impressed me with him, man. He's athletic, good first step, good body control, like just looks the part. So looks like a guy that's just going to be a guy, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, he might not even get drafted, like, but that's the type of guy, one of these second round picks, given what's going to be there, I'm taking a chance on him.
Or if he doesn't get drafted, that's the guy you call and bring him on a 2-way.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Grant Canyon, though, for real, because picked them to go to the Sweet 16. We'll see if they can actually do it. They won their first round game. But I know there's been a couple people in chat that I think have brought him up in the past that have been on the TGF train. Any of you in chat watched him? Any of you have opinions on him? Bouquet says there's a Weber State guard we could get in the second round. That is Dylan Jones, and he's more of a forward that's a little undersized. If he's not big enough to play the 3, or if he's like 6'4", then I'm not as high on him. But if he's like a legit 6'6", I don't know what he's going to measure in at. But if he's like a legit 6'6", legit small forward size, I actually like him as a late first round grade.
Yeah, me too. Depending on his size, I just think he's going to be a little bit of a tweener. Otherwise, he'd be probably higher than late first, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely measurement. It's measurement plus age, Eric, but you know, a lot of steals are guys that are older. I mean, even last year, Jaime Hawkes, right? Are guys that are older that don't get drafted higher because of their age.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we'll talk more about prospects maybe tomorrow or the next post-game show. This tournament's been fun. Next time I fill out a bracket, I'm just going to discount like every SEC school and every Mountain West school. Except I had TCU go into the Sweet 16, and then Utah State wanted to win. Even though I was high on Utah State last year, and they got whacked. So SEC and Mountain West sold me, and I was high on like New Mexico and Nevada and Auburn I had in the championship. I know you had Kentucky going all the way, Eric. Yeah. So SEC schools sold us.
Yeah.
Alabama and Tennessee won. Every other team lost. Auburn got upset as a 4 seed. Kentucky got upset as a 3 seed.
Should have just had Texas A&M and Oregon going further like I thought I was originally going to do.
Dude, Texas A&M looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
They looked phenomenal. Wade Taylor went off. I mean, Nebraska plays no defense. It's a Fred Hoiberg team, you know. They don't play defense.
Yeah. Also, they got those two guards, Refford and Taylor, man.
Yep.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yep. I had Western Kentucky over Marquette, and they looked good. They were up like 6 at halftime, and then they literally like completely dissolved in the second half and lost by like 20.
Dude, they had this guy, Tyrone Marshall, I think is his name. This guy comes in the game, hits like 3 threes. He's like clapping for the ball, like wanting it, and like he's getting it, just like firing it immediately, like with a defender in his face.
Yeah.
And like he looked like a legit star for like a few minutes in the first half. And then you look at his stats, and he averaged like 8 points a game, and like
feeling himself in the tournament, man.
Yeah, like, dude, it's so weird. Like that freaking Golke guy, dude. Like, dude shot 8 2-point shot. How is that even possible, Tori?
8 twos and like 327 threes.
How do you like? Because you're gonna get run off the 3-point line, right? If you shoot that many,
Yeah.
like, how do you not take like or get to the lane or get a steal and get more than 8 freaking fast break points or something? Like, I don't understand, man.
Somebody said like, oh, he's shot more, or he's made more threes than he has 2-point attempts all season. I'm like, wow, that's kind of crazy, actually. And then I looked at it, and it was like 130 made threes to 8 2-point attempts. I was like, it's not even close. That's absurd. So, yeah, that dude, hey, that's a DoorDash legend right there. He said, like, when he was playing D2 ball before he went to Oakland, he was would, like, drive an hour away right after his, like, D2 home games to go DoorDash in, like, college towns and do Uber and stuff. And, like, apparently a bunch of, like, Michigan State students online were, like, saying that, oh, I've had him as an Uber before. Like, I remember that guy. So, you know, good old March Madness creates storylines out of DoorDash drivers like him.
But, like, he comes to the game and he's, like, acting like he's freaking Michael Jordan out there. Like, he's getting the ball and just, like, chucking, like he's this unstoppable dude. And he was yesterday. But, like, I don't know. It's crazy to me how, like, you just find these random people who aren't even that good on their own team throughout the whole year, and then just something happens in these big moments and they just like take off. I don't know.
Yeah, facts. You know what moment we were robbed of, though? Could have been one of the greatest March moments ever. Samford.
You're still mad about that.
Well, okay,
call.
I'm mad because I picked them, right? I'm also mad because it would have been nice for Gonzaga to face them. But also, bro, they're down 4. They were down, like, what, 20 at one point or something close to that? Complete this, like, huge comeback, right? Stadium's on their side. Stadium's rocking. They're down 4 with, like, 22 seconds left. Have a just a insane like wheel play off a baseline out of bounds. They get a wide open three, cash it. They're down 1. Kansas throws it long. I'm explaining it for anybody who didn't watch the play.
What was that guy's name? That hit the three. He's another one of those guys who was playing awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So they hit a wide open three to cut it to 1. Then Kansas inbounds, has somebody go long. There's nobody back for Samford. So they throw a deep ball pass, basically streaking down the court.
It was to Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, to somebody on Kansas. So because it's open, they go for a 2-hand dunk. This Samford player just chases him down full speed from behind, gets his hand on the ball, forces a miss, gets all ball, right? So the ball goes off like the backboard and into a Samford player's hands, and they're like turning to run the other way with numbers with like 14 seconds left, down 1. And they call a foul. And it was all ball. It was all ball. Eric. Baseline inbounds, open 3, chase down block like that, then run the other way and get a big bucket. That would have been such an epic moment. That would have been insane. Just that chain of events. Mm-hmm. And as a basketball fan, not even as a fan of my own bracket, which is busted, as a basketball fan, Eric, I'm still hurt because we were robbed for no freaking reason.
Yeah, unfortunately, there hasn't been. I mean, there has been some. There's the
Florida, Colorado.
KJ Simpson hit that Kawhi Leonard bouncing off the rim shot today to win 102-100 in regulation. Dude, that's so crazy.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That game was insane. But yeah, and then who was it? Was it the Dayton game where they?
Oh yeah, I had Nevada going to the Sweet 16 and then they choke a 20-point lead. Yeah, I love it.
What team was it that had like 3 shots at tying the game at the end or something and missed all of them?
I forget. Oh, Auburn. Yeah, I gotta screw that one too. Yeah, Auburn. Unfortunately.
Oh, Auburn missed more than just the 3 threes.
Yeah, I don't know.
They had that possession where they missed like 4 lay-ins off offensive rebounds. The dude missed 2 free throws.
Drove me crazy. That was miserable.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, Gonzaga plays tomorrow. Gonzaga blew out McNeese. Oh my goodness. Gonzaga's favorites right now against Kansas. So we better get this win. They play at 12:15. Because I think Gonzaga can also beat Purdue.
Yeah.
I think Gonzaga could go on a run. Maybe make the Final Four.
I'm a Beaver, but and go Beavers. They won today in the women's bracket. Nice. But I'm really looking forward to the Oregon Creighton game. Mm-hmm. And but that's at like 6:40 or something. Like it's right near the start of the Blazer game.
It goes Gonzaga, Washington State, then Oregon.
Yeah.
Because Washington State's at like 3:30. 3:10. Yeah, Gonzaga at 12:15, then Washington State at 3:10, then Oregon plays at 6:40. Some good games tomorrow. You also got NC State and Oakland. We'll see if Oakland can make a Sweet 16. I think they'd be like the third 14 ever to make a Sweet 16. It's funny because right now you have more 15 seeds that have made a Sweet 16.
Golke's going to go like 2 for 17, and they're going to get blown out. Watch.
Yeah. DJ Burns is going to have 40 points and put like 3 people in the hospital. Yeah. Man. NC State's fun to root for. I should have put him in my Sweet 16. I shouldn't have had that much faith in Kentucky. I was just like, guard play. I love picking guard play in March. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to value experience more, and I need to discount the SEC and the Mountain West more is what I've discovered, Eric. That's what I learned from this year. And I've also learned that I should not put faith in Chauncey Billups to coach a defense.
Yeah. But give us those predictions of how many points we lose by tomorrow.
Like
20 probably.
Like 2,200 something. A lot. A whole lot. Yeah. I would take Denver's side of the spread unless the spread is above 20. Denver right now is a 15.5 point spread, so I take Denver there. Anyway, anything else for this post game? We do it again tomorrow night, Eric.
Well, thanks everyone for watching. Once again, the post-game show might be a little late. One, because I'm going to the game, and two, because if there's some good college games still happening, we might wait till the end of those.
Yeah, luckily the last game is supposed to start at 6:40, and there's not more. There's only one game before it, so should be right after game time because I think that game will be done. But if it goes long, yeah, it could be a little late. We'll see. We shall see.
Appreciate everyone tuning in. I hope you have a good night and enjoy basketball tomorrow.
And then shout out to JP Savvy with the €2 dono. Says, totally missed the 10K. Congrats. Thank you, JP Savvy. Appreciate you. Yes, we hit 10K. You love to see it. 5 digits on the YouTube studio page is pretty cool to see. So appreciate you guys. And yeah, we're going to do it again tomorrow. Jam-packed schedule for the rest of the season pretty much. So looking forward to off-season content, though, for real. But I always enjoy sitting down with you guys talking about hoops. And I look forward to doing it again tomorrow. And until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!